Hello everyone, we have a very special guest with us today, Chaitanya Awasthi, All India rank 37. He was a student of GS Online Foundation course as well as Mains Test Series. Chaitanya managed to crack UPSC Civil Services exam in his very first attempt. Welcome Chaitanya, we are very honored to have you here.
Thank you so much.
So Chaitanya, you managed to clear this exam in the very first attempt and two-digit rank. You must be excited, right?
It's obviously a good feeling, but personally for me, it's a mixed bag for certain personal losses. But notwithstanding that, obviously it's a good achievement. It's a sense of relief, but lots of optimism and excitement for the journey ahead to contribute to the growth of this country in this wonderful period that is going to come ahead.
So good to hear that, and that's amazing. Now let us delve into your journey so that the other aspirants can understand the intensity and the kind of dedication one has to give for the UPSC preparation. So let us start with prelims. So you managed to clear the prelims. That's like kind of a very unpredictable phase of this exam. Can you share strategies and the techniques that you applied?
I think the first and foremost would be to get the clarity that prelims is not the barometer of your intelligence. Prelims is a qualifying exam. Prelims, it doesn't matter you score 198 or 120. Yes, obviously if you score a higher end, that means you have prepared really good. But one should not aim for that 200 out of 200, it's virtually impossible. So one has to realize that prelims is a test of wisdom, where to stop your pen, the number of attempts that you do. And it's easier said than done because people always say that we won't be taking the risk or we won't be going for that extra marker. But when you're in that room, seeing all those aspirants around you and that question comes and you have eliminated two options, there is that temptation कि मेरा एक साल बर्बाद हो जाएगा or I'll lose out on 1 year, maybe because of this one question. Who knows what the cutoff will be. And I'm telling you 9 out of 10 times you'll mark it. Despite your 1 year's preparation of telling yourself not to go into that temptation, you will fall prey to it. So I think prelims is number one that. It is about your strategy. It is about telling yourself or assessing a paper after seeing it, what's a good number of attempts. Once you have done that, then comes your knowledge into play. So that for me was the first learning, that I trained myself to have a good number of attempts. There is no universal rule. Nobody can tell you what the good number of attempts is. It depends upon the paper. But once you have trained yourself to do that, then comes the knowledge part. And then I think prelims, there's no specific strategy. It's always an integrated prelims and mains preparation. Yes, towards the end of the year, once December comes or say January, you go into full prelims mode. And that mostly means giving a lot of mocks. No matter what sources, no matter what institute, no matter from where you get them, there are lots of them available. Just get your hand on any of them and give as many mocks. Because the objective of mock is not to guess questions or preempt. You can't do that. If you could, then wow, you'd be clearing examinations left, right and center, Sure. But the objective of mocks, again, as I said, is to train yourself to assess the paper and then act accordingly. The more number of mocks you give, the more seasoned you become. So that was mostly prelims. Maybe prelim specific, I would say preparation was from December onwards, where I went into full prelims mode. Out of my notes, I made very short, crisp notes, which could be revised at the last moment. But by and large, it was mains preparation clubbed with prelims. And towards the end, it got oriented towards it.
Oh, that's amazing. So prelims was definitely like you have a very holistic plan for it, and it seems very sorted. Right. Now coming to the mains, you got a very impressive score in the mains, 433 marks, right, in the general studies. Right. And also for the essay and optional, you managed to score great. Now mains is all about answer writing. Right. So what was your approach for answer writing?
You totally, very rightfully said that mains is all about answer writing. It's not about how much you know. It's about how much you can convey in that limited space. How much can you tell the examiner you know about that? And that comes only through practice. And I learned it a bit late. Because coming from a law background, I thought that I could write answers, but that's not what UPSC wants. UPSC wants clear, crisp, concise answers, to the point. They don't want beating around the bush. They've asked you specific keywords, so put it that. So just general things that I learned, I think, which could be helpful for the people is using diagrams. People think that they beautify your answer. I think they save on space, which is a greater asset. Once you have additional space, you can give greater dimensions to your answers, and that is where you take the edge. I mean, for you, it's your one answer copy. For the examiner, it's like 20 answer copies. And he might be tired by the time he reaches your and be reading all those mundane answers and everything. So where do you click out? Where do you stand out for him to give you that extra 1 mark or 2 mark that gives you that edge? I think that is the presentation bit. A lot depends on mains in presentation. Knowledge, yes, you can have a lot of it. But if you can't communicate it to the other person, I don't think that knowledge is useful. So mains answer writing is a must, and there is no shortcut to it. Let me break a lot of hearts who are watching this talk thinking I can give some success mantra. There is not. There is hard work and there is discipline. These two things go hand in hand, and if you try to do any of them without the other, discipline without hard work is waste. And hard work without discipline is just unmindful. So I think yes, you rightfully said answer writing was the big thing. These 3 or 4 learnings I very well incorporated into my thing, and then I just practiced. I wrote answers in a timed manner to see whether I can handle that pressure of writing 4 answers in 30 minutes. That's a big thing. Your hand pains. Nobody takes into account all these things. They think, "Arey, hum to khate peete ghar ke hain," and stuff like this, and my hand won't pain. No, it will. Trust me, it will. I am a very lean. Don't go by me, but I know people who are very well done, well to do physically, and they were all exhausted. They said that they can't write the evening paper. That's kind of the stress that's there. People can't lift their head up to see what's happening in the crunch of time. So do not neglect answer writing. It is you can say the core of mains, and rest all you will fall in place.
So that's the macro thing that you said about. Micro-wise, like, did you apply specific techniques for specific sections like introduction, body, conclusion?
I obviously had this general structure in mind that the answer has to be intro, body, conclusion, but I was not very rigid in my approach ever. I think in life also you should never be rigid about any rule. But for starters, for introduction, I had 3 very simple ideas that in any particular question, an intro can be a definition, a data, or a quote. So if you have a definition related to something asked about in the question, go ahead. If you have a good data with source, go ahead, which is a authentic source. And if you have a good quote, because Chaitanya Awasthi saying something doesn't matter much. If the same thing has been said by Mahatma Gandhi, obviously it matters because Mahatma Gandhi is here, he has achieved things in life, Chaitanya Awasthi hasn't, right? So instead of writing something on your own, if you can, it's not a necessity, but obviously it's a greater edge. If you can recall some good line about that topic said by some great personality, no matter from what field, I think that gives an edge to you. So in intro also you can use it, and even in conclusion, body has to be very analytical. It has to be very specific. It can't be going haywire, whatever. So what I used to do was, in the question, I used to mark the keywords that the question is asking, because many times when you're writing, you lose track of what to do next, what to write next. There's a, Steve Smith said it, brain fade moment, just like in cricket. So there's a brain fade moment while writing answers as well. So I used to circle the keywords on the question paper, and then I used to ensure that my answer has all those keywords, at least what the question has demanded. So I'm not missing out on anything that the examiner wants to know from this question, and I'm trying to keep it as direct as possible to the question. I think that is enough for any answer if you've structured it in an intro, body, conclusion part.
I must say your ability to reflect is amazing. It's very inspiring, because you are definitely saying that yes, there is a structure to the answer, and you were able to have it kind of personalized for things, right?
Right.
So you were at Vajiram Test Series, and we were lucky enough to see your gradual increase in the score for GS2 and GC. Right. Can you tell me exactly how the test series helped you a lot?
So what happened was, I think the first test that I gave, I had no mentor, because my father passed away, and he was the only mentor I had. He was very well versed with all these things. So I thought that he'll get me through mains also. He knew how to guide me. But when that happened, so I was at a lacuna. So I gave my first test like this only. I wrote a law school wala answer, paragraph after paragraph, middle page se shuru karke and everything. And I remember the feedback that I got was that great content, good grasp of concepts, the language and articulation is very good, but not markable, because that's not the UPSC way. UPSC is bullet points, very direct and straight. And I remember, if you people see the second test I gave, I just completely switched to the bullet points straight away, because there used to be a gap of, I think, 7 or 10 days between 2 tests. So after the first test, I just made sure that the next 2 days, I wasn't learning anything. Whatever I had in my mind, I was just writing it down on paper in bullet points, fine-tuning my bullet points. Sometimes I used to use numbers. Then I found arrows are a great way to communicate. So I fine-tuned it 2-3 days, and then I started deploying it in further tests. And then my scores started increasing exponentially, to say of sorts, and that also tells you that the thing that we were discussing, how presentation matters. Yeah. The content was still the same. Chaitanya Awasthi had read equal number of books between test 1 and test 4. It was all about presentation, and that people say that it's not a good thing, but I think it's a good thing, because you have to be very articulate in your presentation when you are presenting something. As an officer also, you will be giving presentations or giving some material to some high dignitary. And in that, if you are very complex and it's all mixed up, no matter how good you have, it won't be communicated.
True. So it seems like you are very smart enough in adopting like all the feedback that you got. Like, did you have any specific methods or approaches? Like, how would I make sure that the feedback that I received, I would like imbibe in the next answer or like that?
So that's a two-way thing, or maybe you guys were smart enough to give it simply to me. That was easily digestible for me, right? But nobody knows. I think there's no approach to it. Don't go too much on marks. I never used to look at the marks I was getting in the exam. I never used to look at the marks per question, because that will change when you get the feedback. Is more important why the person is marking you that. That's written on the corners, that's not written. People often tend to go to the end page and see kitna aaya. 3 number diya, 5 number diya. That doesn't matter, even if you're getting 4, how is it better from 4.5? You aim for the 7, no, you go for the 6. You see, and that secret lies in the margins. Wahan pe that examiner or the copy checker has written ki kyun usne saath nahi diya hai, kahan galti ho. So I think reading those feedbacks is important, and once you have read those feedbacks, don't just forget it. Don't just keep it in your head कि कर लेंगे अगले टेस्ट में. नहीं, आप अगले दिन ही उसको करो, तभी वो आपकी हैबिट में आएगा. कोई भी चीज़ लास्ट मोमेंट पे नहीं आती थी. कि लॉ स्कूल में वी यूज्ड टू रीड एक नाइट पहले, कि एक साल की पढ़ाई एक दिन पहले कर लेंगे. यूपीएससी taught me this is not the way. I never used to be a person who used to put in dedicated number of hours in studying. But UPSC taught me that this requires it. You can't escape it. There's no other way around it. So answer writing also the same thing. The feedback has to be incorporated the moment it has been given. You start practicing on it. If the examiner has written that you could have written this shorter, write a shorter version उसी के सामने तुरंत. And that gets in your head, when somebody corrects you and you immediately make correction, that gets registered in your head. The next time you are giving a test, you say कि अच्छा उसमें वो किया था अब नहीं करूँगा. So that's that.
I think so. That's your hunger for self-improvement and your urgency to make sure the things are done as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So for someone who is joining the test series, like can you tell him or her like what they should ideally approach the test series with?
I think I can speak for this test series because I've been a part of it. Stick to their schedule. It gives you a good streamline. Don't try to keep the tests pending कि बाद में कर लेंगे, end में कर लेंगे. They give you a lot of time to submit. Don't wait for that time. Whatever the deadline is, stick to it. It will help you in two ways. A, being disciplined is good anyway for the overall preparation. And B, if you do it in that ways, you'll realize why those deadlines are there, because then you can focus and incorporate the learnings from this test into the other test. The subject would be different, but the writing and mannerisms and the way you can improve your marks would be it. So stick to the schedule is number one. Number two is take the feedback what you think is comfortable. Whatever I say today sitting here should not be the absolute truth for anyone, right? So take whatever the examiner or the person who's checking your note answer copy also with a pinch of salt. Whatever you like from it, it's not like you say ladai kar lo ya dushmani kar lo, but whatever you're liking from it, take it. Whatever you're not liking, just humbly keep it there. It's no big deal. You don't have to agree to every word in that, right? So if somebody's, for me, see, I'll tell you an example also so that you can find it relatable. I had very verbose language because I come from law school. I use heavy words and complicated flowery languages. I have poetry as my hobby, so that is also a sort of disadvantage here. I was told that you use simple language, articulated language, communicate what you know effectively. And I realized that yes, that person is talking to me. This is a big drawback, and I incorporated it second time. I stopped using long terminology. I stopped using long sentences, comma and semicolon. Write your sentence short, one sentence, one line, or max 1.5 line. End it. Move on. So these are the kind of feedbacks that I received, and I incorporated them, and that reflected in the marks also. Going forward. So I think that's the way you can utilize this test series.
So answer writing is like front end of this game. The back end is like making the notes and all, right? Like managing the entire syllabus. That's humongous, right? And so what kind of approaches that you made sure that your notes are ready?
Mine was very, they have these key performance indicators for civil servants, the KPI dashboard. So I made a dashboard for myself. I divided the syllabus into 12 parts. So that gave me a monthly target. And then that monthly target I divided into 4 parts. That gave me a weekly target. Once that is sorted, no matter what hell breaks loose, you have to complete that weekly target before the end of the week. So if you're completing it in 5 days, take the 2 days off. You've earned it. If you're completing it on the night of the 6th, you just keep on going till you complete that target. But that target has to be done within that week. So that was my approach of breaking down the syllabus. Secondly, with respect to making notes, as you asked, when toppers used to give these toppers talk, I used to be a bit scared because people used to come and say that they've read the book 14 times, 15 times. And I was scared that these are the number of books Even if I am grateful enough to read a book twice in the entire journey, I'd find myself greater than what I've accomplished. But that's where the catch lies. They are also not lying. They are saying truth. Because now sitting here, I can tell you I've read Lakshmikant 12 or 14 times. But that does not mean I've read it cover to cover. So the first time I read Lakshmikant, I read it like a storybook. I just want to know what's happening around me in terms of polity. The second time I sat with a pencil or a highlighter and I got the important parts underlined. That cuts your book down to almost half, right? The third time that I sat down, I took a A4 size wala register and I made my own notes, very crisp notes. But when you make notes, make sure that they are A, use flowcharts and diagrams so that it gets shortened. B, make them so comprehensive with mains and PT both that you're confident that you never have to pick up the book again. So my golden rule was that 3 times is the thing. After that, I would never touch the book. And in my entire journey, I never touched Lakshmikant again. For me, my register became Lakshmikant now, which was now 1/3 of the original book. So now I'm reading 1/3 of the original book over and over again. And over a period of time, in the entire cycle, when you do it, till prelims, you would have read it around 8 times. Then by the time your interview comes, you would have read it around 11 or 12 times. Mains comes by 11 or 12 times. And then by the time your interview comes, you want to brush up on so you read a couple of times more. It's a small register now. So the total becomes 14. So when I put it today that Lakshmikant 14 times per year, you might get scared. But now you have to understand that it's a notes, my notes that I'm talking about. And in general, in any subject, you'll see this. That if you make good, concise notes, they go a long way in your preparation. So yeah, that's it.
Sure. That was very innovative. We talked about the dashboard, and I think so. Making note makes things a lot easier. Even I saw your essay score, that's 127, which is quite impressive, and it must have given the entire push to the total marks. So, do tell me about your essay game plan.
Essay, to be honest, was a paper I was looking forward to because there was no separate preparation. It was all GS 1, 2, 3, 4 combined, and I deployed all the knowledge from GS 1, 2, 3, 4 in both the papers. For instance, I wrote forests are the best indicator of GDP. I think there was one topic. So my first section A topic was that, and I used from how Mahajanpad's period, there used to be forests which used to give timber and elephants. So they used to decide who would control the economy. So from time immemorial, that was GS1. And then I came to GS3, how green GDP, gross environment product, the green finance and all is taking over. So that was GS3. Then I went to GS2, how Environment Protection Act, plastic waste management rules, and so on and so forth. So all these were clubbed. And then in conclusion, I went to ethics, that Mahatma Gandhi said that you do not inherit this world from your ancestors, you borrow it from your children. So that was all GS 1, 2, 3, 4 clubbed together. And essay also personally, I have a soft corner because it's a first paper. You're excited. And you have a lot of time to write for a change. From GS, you've been just writing and without even thinking. Here, you get time to, knit a beautiful story. And that is all the essay is about, to be very honest. Knit a story from all the content that you have, which the examiner loves to read. And your essay is sorted.
So you're saying that it's all about making sure your foundations of all the GS 1, 2, 3, 4 are strong, right?
Yeah. Essay is all about that.
Yeah, and you did online coaching, right? So how did that transform this journey?
So actually what happened was, since in the initial few days my father passed away and I was very directionless. I was not in the mental, space to, let alone this preparation, to handle life in general. And my sister, out of some good thinking and will, somehow managed to procure this online coaching because she thought that if at this moment I lose track of my life, that would be a worse thing that could happen to me. And looking back in hindsight, I'm extremely grateful to both of them that they took that call for me. I actually did not enroll, they got me enrolled. And then I thought that since the money has been invested, it'd be very shameful of me to carry on this low phase of my life and not make use of the opportunity, because I'm grateful for having those sisters who put me in this position which I couldn't have afford myself, and many of the people still can't. So that gave me a direction that if class hai to baithna hai, and that started like that. And then I started enjoying it because obviously UPSC was a love for a temporary period because of the whole thing with my father. I somewhere lost touch with it. But obviously, when you love something and it comes back to you, it's difficult to resist embracing it. So then one thing led to another, and I started doing the classes more regularly. And they gave me a sense of, I would say, discipline in my preparation. And And there's one good thing, about the teachers here. One of the teachers said that we won't take credit for your success. We are telling you straightforward in the first class, I think it was, and he said that in the first class itself, that this will be 90% your job.
True.
Do not think that here you've come and 10%. He was very clear that I'll give you my 10%, very honestly. You give me your 90% return. And so that was a very good thing that was told to me very early. And I incorporated it, that just because I'm doing classes doesn't give me an excuse not to go for my self-study. Self-study is the core, no matter you're doing coaching or not. You're doing coaching, then you have lesser hours for self-study, so you have to work harder to revise the coaching notes as well. But yeah, that was my overall experience, and that's how it started. And
So definitely this journey has a lot of parameter, as you said, key performance indicators. So it's very difficult sometimes to manage the stress, so emotionally or even academically. So what was your mantra for stress management?
I think it was more of my mother's mantra. She said that if you're succeeded in life, and I have also this anecdote that when you're scaled a peak and you're standing at top, the view is brilliant, and so you get tempted to enjoy it for far too long, but you risk being frozen to death there. So don't do that. Yes, you have scaled it. You have put in a lot of sacrifices and hard work. Enjoy the view. It's a fruit of your labor, but then come down humbly, pick up a new peak, and that is what humans are. Constantly challenging themselves. My way to manage stress was the learnings from my parents, especially my mother during these 2 years in particular, when my father was not with me, wherein she said that this is the first ladder of success. People and society tend to make UPSC the last ladder, that once you've achieved it, it's done. It's not true. It's the first ladder. Till 22nd May, I was a student. 23rd May, the result came. Yes, a lot of things have changed in my life, but at heart, I'm still a student. I'll still look up to my professors and teachers with the same admiration, with the same curiosity to learn something. So keep that balance in your mind. Don't let the world put you on a pedestal. Yes, you have achieved it, but that pedestal also falls off very quickly if you're not grounded at some place. So be that. And thirdly, do not make too much of this examination. Be true to why you are doing this examination. If you are doing to prove something to the other, then just get out already of this examination. It's not for you. But if you are doing it for yourself, if you have very clear reasons with respect to your contribution to the nation, with respect to the fulfilling the aspirations of, say, your loved ones, maybe your parents, if you have the clear-cut reasons, come into this examination. There won't be any distractions, and I think you'll enjoy the process. With my father not being there, somehow I could not enjoy this process, but I always used to tell him when he was here that UPSC is a love of an examination. It's a absolute darling in examinations world. And if you enjoy it, it's a comprehensive exam which tests you physically, mentally. So enjoy the process. That's that.
Your personality interview score definitely reflects your aptitude and attitude. You got an outstanding score of 184.
Nice.
So how did you handle the interview phase?
I think I was told by my father also that interview is always a test of your character, of your personality. It's never a test of your knowledge. People always hype about interview as a test of knowledge. They start bickering about books ki और पढ़ लूँ कि उस समय नहीं बता पाए. Then the person taking the interview might think कौन आ गया है. But they often seldom realize that the people know that you have cleared mains, you have proved your mettle there, and now they don't want to see कि वहाँ पे Wikipedia आई है कि नहीं.
Yeah.
They want to test your pressure situations. They want to see your biases. They want to see your vulnerabilities. They'll test you on that. And people often go under-prepared for that. People go over-prepared for the academic part, which is, yes, they say questions. But I was grilled for like 35. I had a long interview and it was wonderful. It was one way to look at it would be grilling. But I saw through it that they're not grilling me. They're just throwing me questions. They want to listen to me. And they were very patient about that. So the only requisite for the interview is be honest. Many people often tend to impress the board and write about things. Don't do that, because if you think you can do that, their heads have hair have turned grey looking at people like me and you. उनका काम है ये. वो ऐसे चुटकियों में आपके सतह और cream क्या है, दूध क्या है ये देख लेंगे. So don't do that. Be honest. If you have 2 hobbies, write 2 hobbies. Say I didn't get time during the preparation to pursue any hobby. What's the harm? But be good about those 2 hobbies. If you have 1 hobby, yes, work on it a little more. If you can, good. If you can't, then don't.
On that, apart from the core preparation, did you have any extracurricular activities during the preparation?
I'm a very hobby person, so I have a lot of hobbies, but I'll be lying if I say that I managed to keep a track of all of them. This is a very intense examination. I won't say कि मैं सुबह उठ के योगा भी कर लेता था और शाम को जाके walk भी कर लेता था. नहीं हो पाता है. जो लोग कर पाते हैं, great. I'm not taking anything away from them. But personally, I can only speak for myself. I had a lot of things कि मैं सुबह walk पे भी जाऊँगा, शाम को थोड़ा game भी खेलूँगा. नहीं होता, you are mentally drained, you know. So try whatever is comfortable for you. For me, it was watching movies, listening to music or poetry. I was alone with my mother, so there was no point of sports or anything. But one day I just brought I had a tennis racket and I got a ball and I just used to play alone, hitting it against the wall. Do whatever takes your mind off. For me, it was just a simple thing as conversation with my mother. So sitting with her, because she was the only one who didn't judge me in that phase by the outcome of an examination. Everybody else was waiting for the outcome कि जब बन जाएगा तब इसको वो respect देंगे या कुछ करेंगे. For my mother, it was just an examination. For me, for her, I'm still Chaitanya who was before this examination. So do those things, spend times with the people who make you feel comfortable, cherished and loved, and something bigger than this examination. That is, I think, a great thing.
For sure, UPSC journey has lots of ups and downs. So could you share some memorable or impactful moment during this journey?
Memorable, I think if I attach a negative connotation to it, would be the low phases again. I know it is becoming a bit monotonous, but that was my journey, there were lots of lows in the journey, and but my mother always stood like a wall in front of me, shielding me from all those expectations and everything, and trying to give me a conducive environment to conduct my studies. The fact that I'm sitting here, let alone having cleared this examination, is solely because of her. But there was just this one phase where my mother said this thing to me, that just because something wrong has happened to you does not give you a right to forever lament on that. And that was very empowering for me, that for my mother, for whom it was the biggest loss, has the courage to come up and say to me, her child, this thing to motivate me, really motivated me that yes, there are people who are in worse off situations than me. I should not spend my time crying about. I've been given an opportunity which I must use to the fullest to contribute to the services of my country. And there are people who are making nameless sacrifices for working behind the scenes in running this country. If they are doing this thankless job so happily, then what am I cribbing about? So that was a moment that changed it for me.
So true. What advice would you give to a student who is just like starting the journey of this UPSC preparation?
I think two bits of advice that I generally, I always give it with the caveat that I'm not qualified enough to give an advice. There are much more people well versed with this thing. So listen to them. But if you really want to know from me, I'll give just two bits, not just in UPSC in general, something that has worked in my life is there's nothing called as talent. I'll give you a personal example. Till 10th standard, I was winning a lot of competitions. I had lots of gold medals and I never scored below 92%. And everybody called me talented. And in 11th standard, I flunked. And my father was like, where's your talent now? Because in 11th standard, I didn't study. I went partying, I went outside, I was just so high on my head. And that was a great stabilizer and leveling moment for me. So get away with the fact that you can go around hard work. You can't. Hard work and a discipline are the two ways in any, not just UPSC, take sports for example. These are the two things that will get you through in any sphere of life. And second, on a concluding note, many people ask me, how do we learn so much? How do we remember so many things? It's such a diverse examination. I always tell them that this is not an examination of rote learning. If you think that you can get through this examination by rote learning or guesswork, I'll give you the syllabus of UPSC, which is 12 pages long. You just remember it and come next day and tell me line by line. You can't. The problem here is when Virat Kohli goes to nets and practices ball after ball despite being so good, we call it training because he's building his muscle memory. एक ball आती है उस side की वो देखता है खेलता है so that his hand subconsciously moves, the next time he sees that ball, and we call it training, not रटना. But the same thing when we do with the books, because वो पढ़ाई का इतना गुमान बना दिया गया है, उसको रटना कह दिया जाता है. You read a book 10 times, you see article 110 in the constitution, the next time it comes in the examination, आपको आंसर नहीं याद आएगा, लेकिन आपको 110 पता है कि किस एरिया से रिलेटेड है, क्योंकि आपने 10 बार वो पढ़ा है, subconsciously your mind will trigger it. And that is what learning is. And not just study or sports, look at music. You have to learn the chords to play the guitar first. What is chords? You need to know what is G chord and then keep on doing it until you master it. And that's what study is. Keep doing it until you master it.
Exactly. Your muscle basically remembers the stuff, right?
Right.
It's mind muscle we are involved with here. So looking back, is there anything that you would like to do differently in your UPSC preparation?
I think the entire prep, more optimism, more happy. I would have loved to enjoy this preparation. Unfortunately, it became a very pressure kind of thing for me for lots of circumstances. I tell people congratulate me that it's your first attempt. I often tell them that it was also my last attempt, because I was very clear in my mind that the circumstances in my house were not conducive for a second attempt. It was this one or I'll go find my way in life, something or the other. So I think if that pressure wouldn't have been there, maybe that pressure helped me now in hindsight. But if pressure that wouldn't have been there, I would have enjoyed this process more. This was a love of an examination for me. Unfortunately, it couldn't consummate like that. But that was the only thing that I would have loved to do differently. Otherwise, everything was good.
Your journey so far has been quite inspiring,
Right.
and I hope the students are able to, learn and imbibe the attitude of yours to, make sure this exam is not some kind of a huge, challenge, but it's a kind of a, the fun that you had to get from it.
And to just add on to that small thing, I always say this, that please, and this is my humble request to people watching this, do not consider this examination to be a barometer of your capabilities. It is not. The world will make you feel like it. The world will overhype it. Do not think that this examination is the only way you will succeed in life. कि अगर ये अच्छा हुआ है, you would be like कि वहाँ बैठा है तो बोल रहा है. Yes, it's easier for me to say now here, but I've also gone through the same process. I've also watched somebody else. Today I'm on this side of the camera. Somewhere I was also behind a screen watching some topper tell this thing. So please do not think that if my father was the person who I respected the most and he never cleared UPSC examination. So please get out of this mindset कि यही examination है, अगर ये किया तो ही सब कुछ होगा वरना कुछ. No, go ahead and contribute in different spheres. I know it's a big deal. Give your 100%. If you get through, great, kudos, enjoy it, move on to the next challenge. If you don't, please don't get disheartened. It's easier said than done. I'm saying it again, but try to do it. Be around people who love you for more reasons than this examination and you'll find it easier. That's how I got through it.
Congratulations, Chaitanya, once again. Thank you for coming here.
No.
And,
Pleasure is all
we
mine.
wish you all the best and looking forward to all the transformation that you make for the society.
Thank you so much.
Thank you once again.
All the best.